What's poppin', y'all? First off, I just want to apologize if I sound a little bit under the weather. The weather is rapidly changing here in Texas, and my allergies are acting up incredibly, terribly bad. I don't know if that's even a word or a phrase, but so I just want to get that out of the way and just apologize. But so today, I just wanted to talk about my personal experience with, I guess, short form and long form content. And this is just coming from like the, just like the typical average viewer of, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and, longer form content, like ones that you would find on YouTube from like your favorite YouTuber. One thing that I wanted to just state right now is that I believe that my love for long form content is coming back, and my appreciation for it is beginning to grow again. And really, this came from around the time, I guess, the beginning of the year when, everyone was freaking out that TikTok was going to be banned forever. And the whole earth almost just blew up from that announcement. And I guess prior to then, like, I had already deleted TikTok during my last semester of college, when I really decided to lock in. And I had deleted it August of last year, and I haven't re-downloaded it since. And, since then, it allowed me to, I guess, watch other things such as YouTube or even like TV shows. Like whenever I had TikTok, I couldn't even watch TV shows because, my little goldfish brain rotted brain couldn't even like pay attention for longer than, I guess, like a minute or so. And after I deleted TikTok, I began to watch the longer form content again. And I really began to start to appreciate, I guess, more long form content. And I started watching my favorite YouTubers again. I started finding even newer people to watch. Right now, my favorite, I guess, YouTubers are like the really small YouTubers. Like they have like less than 10,000 subscribers, and just watching the videos that they make, because, I believe that, really after the TikTok scare and everything, that a lot of people or I guess people that wanted to get into content creation, they started to migrate more towards YouTube just because of the fact that TikTok was going to be deleted. Really, from when I deleted TikTok till now, I have enjoyed watching long form content now. And, I can finally pay attention. I can watch more than 10 seconds without, getting bored or whatever. And I can watch things at normal speed instead of having to watch it in 2 times speed. TikTok, don't get me wrong, it's a really incredible platform. We haven't seen anything like it. There's not going to be anything to replicate it, in the future, I believe. And, it's really a wonderful app. But I think there was a point in time where people were just trying to create to just be viral. And for a period, I was getting a lot of content on TikTok. Excuse me. I was getting a lot of content on TikTok where it was just people just trying to do whatever just to go viral, and there really wasn't really any creators that were trying to build a genuine audience, and they were more focused on being in the drama or just trying whatever to become TikTok famous. And I didn't find any personal enjoyment out of that. I will say, like, when I did have TikTok, I followed like a lot of people that were really trying to build a community and not try to go viral, and using TikTok as a way to be more engaging with their audience. And I guess, another thing that I really did not appreciate either was just all the, motivational stuff, the drama that was on TikTok, or, just like anything like that, because I don't know. I just didn't find any enjoyment out of any of that stuff. And, coming up to my last semester, I just decided to delete TikTok. Like I had mentioned earlier, from then on, it took a while, but my love for, long form content came back. And, it even made me appreciate content creators on YouTube now, because now I'm not really watching YouTubers that have like millions or hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Like now I'm watching the creator with less than 20,000 subs, less than 10,000 subs. And I feel like their content is more engaging, because we're watching the beginning of someone trying to build their content creation career on YouTube. And, when you're in the beginning, you're really going to try whatever and, continuously improve. And that's something that I appreciate and that I enjoy. Whenever you are a small, content creator on YouTube, it just allows you to be more appreciative of your audience and to try to build, I guess a small genuine community. And I guess like the formula is that smaller content creators use, they don't have, there's minimal editing, or, there's just a lot more new or fresh content. There's no like, of course, like you have your drama, like YouTubers and stuff, like YouTubers that just are there to report on drama, but you don't really have, a lot of people that, are involved in a bunch of the bull crap. There's people that are like, that will eat that up all the time. But, personally for me, I didn't find any enjoyment out of that. So that's one thing that I began to love more about YouTube. Starting out, I was one of those people that, in 2019, 2020 was like downloading, like, I'm never going to download TikTok. It's not cool, whatever. And then, one of my buddies, he was on TikTok, and I was actually watching from his phone. And a lot of the videos that I saw were really interesting. And, I was just like, you know what, let me just download it and give it a try. And then from that point on, it was just the biggest downward spiral ever. I was just constantly feeding my brain with, the most useless information that I would forget, the next video on. And it was pretty detrimental to my attention span, and just to part of my mental health, because whenever you're sitting there scrolling for a while, then obviously that's going to take a toll on your mind. People just fall victim to that. And, just mindlessly scrolling, have to scroll several times before they go to bed. Like, once you really stop and look at it, it's just not a good look. And I feel like a lot of people are realizing that now, especially after the TikTok ban scare. And there was like a mini, like, awakening kind of within the TikTok community about how they're self-aware about how their social media habits are, and how sort of unhealthy it is to have like 8 hours plus screen time a day. By the end of the week, they're averaging at least like 8.5 hours. And people are really starting to realize that a lot of the habits that TikTok or Instagram Reels have built for them, it's not healthy. Like plain and simple, there are people out there that can tolerate like scroll for a little bit, or they have timers set up, but that's really like, compared to the hundreds of millions, possibly like billions of people that have TikTok, that's really just like a handful of people. And not a lot of people are really able to control themselves. The harms of that is just really detrimental to a lot of people's, mental health. Like I said, like nowadays people are starting to realize like how bad it is. Not to speak for other people, like I'm done speaking for other people now, but like for me especially, I'm still an Instagram Reels warrior, dude. I scroll on Instagram Reels for quite a bit. From deleting TikTok to to scrolling on Instagram Reels, like it was several months. Like it took like there for a while I was just on YouTube, and I just began my algorithm began helping me on Instagram Reels just a bit, and that point on, I've been using Instagram Reels ever since. But I will say with Instagram, I do find it easy to close it a lot because it's just like it's not as engaging as TikTok, and that helps me out significantly because I am able to stop myself a lot easier. And YouTube has just helped me out more with like with this, I'm able to watch YouTube videos on how to use certain things, with my camera, with mics, and it's more, I don't know, I guess like educational, but that's like huge quotation marks. And like I had mentioned earlier, I just love watching smaller content creators and, just really enjoying the content that smaller creators on YouTube have to put out. And, the quality of videos of a smaller creator on YouTube compared to a smaller creator on TikTok, it just exceeds TikTok. Even outside of YouTube, like watching movies or shows now, I do find a lot more enjoyment in watching, my favorite shows, and I can pay attention for more than 5 seconds, and I can feel my mustard seed brain start to grow and gain more wrinkles. I think that's it for today. It's just today was definitely a little bit of a shorter video to give a little bit of a summary. Like I do, like nowadays, I do find myself enjoying just YouTube a lot more. Plain and simple. I'm more than halfway through the transition of going from short form content to long form content, and regaining my enjoyment for long form content. And it's been really nice. It's been really nice not keeping up with the latest trends or the latest TikTok slang, and it feels nice like not relating to someone, like whenever they show me like, hey, have you seen this, or do you know what this word means? It feels nice to be able to say, no, I don't know what you're talking about, because I just don't keep up with a lot of the short form content anymore. Yeah, I think that's going to be it today. It was a little bit of a shorter video, but like I always say, I do have a couple more good vids in the chamber, so I'll be working on those soon. And hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you again soon.